we are working Psalm number 1. Psalm 1 is used in psalm magic to diminish the strength of an enemy, for protection from harm from others, to turn away from bad company, to stop gossip, for success in business, to remove people from your life who are bad for you, and also for general prosperity. Today we are going to use Psalm 1 for prosperity. Psalm magic is very simple, easy, and effective. We take the psalm in question and we speak it out loud all the way through once without stopping. This is known as an incantation. After we have finished with the incantation, we go back through the psalm and we analyze each verse to the best of our abilities. We search for hidden meanings, also called occult meanings, behind each of the words. And whatever we find, we try to apply to whatever the situation is that we came to the psalm regarding. And by doing this, we are taking those magic seeds of wisdom that we find and we are planting them deeply in our minds, where they take root, they grow, they blossom forth, and they bear fruit after their kind. And that is precisely what we are going to do together right now with Psalm number 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. The psalmist is acting like your inner guide, your inner teacher, giving you wisdom on how you can have whatever it is that you've come to the psalm for. In our case, we've been asking for prosperity. So think about what you need if you've come here for prosperity. What kind of prosperity are you looking for? If it's money, maybe you need some other kind of prosperity. Whatever it is that you need, bring it to mind. And then when we say, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, you are blessed when you don't listen to your own ego thoughts about why you can't have what you want, or how bad everything is, or whatever your ego is telling you in regards to this needed prosperity. You hear from your ego, probably more frequently than not, why you can't have what you want, why you're not good enough to have what you want, whatever those ungodly things are that are being stated. Now, it's also talking to you about people in your life. You don't always have to sit and listen to everybody talking about hard times and how expensive everything is. You don't need to always listen to the bad news. It's very challenging to find prosperity in your life when you are bombarded with all kinds of evidence and dialogue that tells you that it's not possible. So we are saying we're not listening to it internally, and we are also not listening to it externally. We are turning away from the naysayers in our minds and the naysayers out in the world. Nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Standing in the way of sinners, to sin means to miss the mark, to make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and in that way, everybody's a sinner. But when you stand in the way of those mistakes, that you walk in the way of those mistakes become your way of life, then they're no longer mistakes. They're just how you are. If you are hanging out with people that are always talking about bad times and hard times and how bad everything is, when you are always in the company of those who are at odds with even the concept of your prosperity, it's going to be challenging, if not impossible, for you to get what you want. And so it's fine for you to separate yourself, at least in your mind, from those people and those conversations. Sitteth in the seat of the scornful. To scorn something. Think about scorning. How many times you hear people scorning their prosperity? It angers them when you talk to them about how they could change their thoughts and then change the results. That gets them very, very upset. You don't need to justify yourself to these people, and you don't even need to talk to these people about it. But then also within you is the ego mind that is sitting in the seat of the scornful all the time. How many times do you scorn yourself? How many times do you scorn the world? How many times do you scorn people in the news, politicians, whoever it is? It's not that you're necessarily incorrect about your views on certain subjects, but the idea that scorn is somehow a good way for you to spend your time and your energy is what we're talking about here. For all of the time that you're spending scorning that which isn't working in the world or in your life, you could be spending on focusing your mind on that which you do want and starting to get that flow of prosperity happening. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. So what is the law of the Lord? From a Hebraic point of view, they're talking about the Torah. But the Torah to us as magicians is simply a symbol of the law of cause and effect. The law of the infinite is the law of cause and effect. And the world of cause is the invisible world. The world of effect is the visible world. So if you're looking for prosperity, you don't necessarily need to go out into the world to find it and figure it out and manipulate things in order to get what you want. You have to delight in the law of the Lord. And that means delight in what you do want. Sit and meditate on it. It says, in his law doth he meditate day and night. If you sat thinking about what you want and how you're going to get it day and night, isn't that a better use of your time than hanging out scorning things all the time and, quote, sinning? Take this very personally and pare it right down to your goal, whatever your goal is. Let that be your meditation day and night. Moving into the invisible world and creating what you want in the invisible world and knowing that the law works. You don't have to worry about the visible world. The visible world will take care of itself. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in season. That's what you want to be. You don't want to be somebody walking around with these ideas that are always at odds with your happiness, always at odds with your goals, always at odds with your prosperity. You want to be planted in the ground of the infinite, in the solid earth of the infinite, by a river where you receive the nourishment so that you can grow and flourish. It's not just a prosperity spell that brings quick money and then you got to do another one and then you've got to do another one. No, you're building a prosperity tree. You are planting a money tree, if you will, that will take care of you forever and ever and will continue to grow. And what is that river that's nourishing it? That's the infinite's love for you. That's the infinite's love for you, because if you are understanding the law of the infinite, which is that the invisible world is the world of cause, you're planting your understanding of that law into the ground of the infinite and allowing the infinite's love to nourish you so that your prosperity grows in the invisible world first, and then the visible expression of that is a given. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So that's a promise. And remember that a promise in the Psalms is a metaphysical law. If you work it out in the invisible, the visible will happen. And so whatever you do will prosper if you become the tree that is planted in the fertile ground of the infinite, where you are constantly being nourished by the love that the infinite has for you. This is a co-creation, and this is exactly how the infinite wants things for you. But you have freedom of thought. So you have to be the one that meditates on what you want. You have to be the one that makes these decisions. You have to be the one that turns away from the things that go against what you want and spend your time sitting in and being one with that which you desire. And that's how you plant that tree. And that love that the infinite has for you is constant. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. So in ancient times, they had a method of harvesting, which they would take some grain and throw it up in the air, and the light chaff would be separated in the wind, and then the grain would fall onto the threshing floor, and then they could finish cleaning it up. And what happened to that chaff is it would just float away. It would just blow away in the wind. So do you want to be the tree that's planted and nourished and loved and prospers, or do you want to be the chaff which blows away? On an even deeper level, we're talking about what you can do with your ego. You can throw the seeds up into the air and let the wind take the ego thoughts away from you. Part of your prosperity is allowing the infinite to undo from your own mind those habitual thought forms which you've picked up that are egoic in nature and that are self-destructive in nature, and let the infinite take them away, just like that chaff was taken away before the grain hit the threshing floor. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. That's exactly true. You can't bring the ego into the soul, just like you can't keep the dark alive while you turn the light on. If you are looking under the bed for something and you can't see it because it's dark, and then you shine a flashlight under there, it's not that the darkness is fighting against the light, it's just that it's dissolved, it disappears. And the same thing that goes with the so-called chaff, with these so-called ego thoughts. When the light comes on, they disappear. They're gone. And so they can't sit in the judgment. They can't sit in the congregation of the righteous because the light's been turned on. And the only thing that sits there is that which is real. These ungodly thoughts can't sit in the congregation of the righteous. So what's the righteous? The righteous is you in your right mind. You at your sanest. You at your happiest. You at your most peaceful. And everything else that is not that can't exist alongside of the righteousness. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. The Lord for us as magicians is a symbol. So in the King James Version of the Bible, the Lord is what they translate the Tetragrammaton into. So anytime you see the word Lord in the King James Version of the Bible, it means Yud He Vav He. And Yud He Vav He to us is a symbol for the one power, the one force, the one source, the one substance. There's only oneness. This is a pre-gender force. It's a pre-deity force. There's nothing but this force. Nothing else exists. No matter what it is, nothing else exists but this force. Now, we have imaginations, we have minds, and we can think things any way we want to because we are free to do that. So our minds can come up with ideas about things that are separate from this force, but that doesn't make them real. It doesn't make them real. It's real to us in our experience because that's how powerful our minds are. We can project those experiences for ourselves, but that does not make them objectively real. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous. So God only knows you. The Lord only knows you. This force only knows you as yourself in your right mind, sane, happy, prosperous, free, joyous. That's how the infinite knows you. It doesn't know you as the ego. It doesn't know you as the poor person or the one that's always having trouble or always having problems. It doesn't know you that way because that doesn't ultimately exist. So that's good news. Because if you align with the way the infinite already knows you, the way you were created, the rest of that stuff goes away, just like the chaff in the wind. It just goes away all by itself. You don't have to do anything about it. But the way of the ungodly shall perish. And that's what that means. It just goes away. It's not a big process. The idea of this psalm is separating the chaff from the grain, the whole thing. Everything that is prosperous, joyous, happy, free, and quote, righteous is the way you were created. Anything that you've added or picked up along the way that aren't those things is not the way you were created. Everything that's not the way you were created is what causes problems or stands in the way of your happiness, and in this case, your prosperity. The good news is that those things can easily be removed if you let them be. This psalm is a method by which you're giving your permission to be thrown up in the air so that the chaff can go away and the real you falls to the threshing floor. You're being harvested by the infinite so that you in turn can harvest what you desire through the infinite. And it's all beautiful. It's all easy. It's all loving. It's very gentle. And if you allow yourself to be, quote, judged by the infinite, all that means is separating the stuff that's not you from the stuff that is you. And the stuff that isn't you is the stuff that's causing you problems. So you want to let that go. So we want to let the infinite do that for us and through us. You see how the person throwing the grain up in the air, they weren't separating the chaff from the grain meticulously themselves. They were letting the wind do it. They were letting the infinite do it. So this is a wonderful psalm saying, let the infinite do it. You're having trouble? It's okay. Let the infinite do it. It'll take care of it for you. It'll go away in the wind. It's a wonderful psalm. Just keep coming back to the same psalm every day until you get a sense of peace and certainty about whatever it is that you brought to the psalm. When you get that sense of peace that everything's working out all right, you know that your spell has been cast and you don't have to work on this particular subject anymore. It's taken care of. You can move on to something else. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Until next time, blessed be.